Good morning, and welcome to the Be Free podcast, or you may be watching this on YouTube. Today I've got such an interesting conversation for you, and I had to kind of hit record early before I started interrogating Joanna because there's so much wisdom and things that I want to understand from her. She's got incredible expertise to share with us today. And the subjects that she supports people with, I guarantee will affect you or will have affected you or maybe affect you in the future. So do pay attention to what Joanna has to share today. So I'm just saying, Joanna, we had this conversation before we went live because I'm going to fail miserably at pronouncing your last name, Joanna. So Joanna, do you want to do a little intro to who you are?
Yes, so my name is Joanna Bieszczad. I've got a very tricky surname. It's a Polish surname with SZCZ in the middle,
Yeah.
so not the easiest one. I am CBT and EMDR therapist. I work in the UK. I've got my own private practice here, and I recently started creating online courses as well.
Amazing, amazing. So where about in the UK are you based, Joanna?
I am in Somerset.
In Somerset, beautiful.
Yes,
Lovely.
absolutely lovely here.
Amazing. So when I was kind of getting to know you a bit better and reading through your bio, I was fascinated by the kind of experience you had, the expertise, your background. Obviously, you mentioned that you are accredited senior CBT and EMDR therapist, that you have 4 degrees in psychology and psychotherapy and over 15 years of clinical experience. One of the things that jumped out to me when I was kind of learning about you, mentioned obviously you'd worked in the NHS, you'd worked with universities supporting counselling, and forensic services. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to know more about this.
Oh, that was probably the most exciting job in my life. And when people hear it, they think it's like from some kind of interesting book or from a film. So my job was to be part of the team and assess people for psychopathy. So we were working with the most dangerous criminals in the UK.
Wow.
And it was therapeutic community. So my job was basically hanging out with those people and get to know them, assess them. But as well, we were running some therapy groups to help them perhaps deal with their emotions better and so on. But it was a very exciting job.
Yeah, incredible. My daughter, she studied criminology.
Okay.
And yeah, all that side of things really fascinated her, you know, kind of the mental, emotional side of things. And then, yeah, obviously you've worked in the NHS and things as well. So quite a diverse range of people that you've supported.
Yes, I worked with people from different backgrounds, different walks of life, which is quite interesting. I really find it fascinating and I absolutely love it. I work with kids as well. So there is quite a big range.
Wonderful. So for those people who don't know, EMDR and CBT. Now, I know quite a few people may have heard of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, from maybe their doctor or a counselor or another therapeutic practitioner that they've seen. And I don't know how many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, got referred for CBT from my doctor for anxiety and depression. And I found that really, really helpful. I do have an awareness of EMDR because I have a friend who studied it and it fascinates me as well as a tool for supporting people. But for people who don't know, can you explain a bit about what they are?
So CBT, as the name tells us, cognitive behavioral therapy. We look at the cognition, so thoughts, how they affect how we feel, and we look at the behavior and how it affects how it makes us feel. And I think that the easiest way to illustrate that is with an example. So imagine a situation when you are walking down the street and you wave to your friend, but your friend doesn't wave back. And if you interpret the situation, oh my God, what have I done? They must be really upset with me. They must be cross. Then what happens to you? You start feeling anxious. You might start feeling paranoid. Then what do? You go back home, you ruminate over that, you run over every single conversation you had with this friend to check whether you offended them in some ways. And in the future, you might even start avoiding your friend because you might be scared that there might be confrontation. Mm-hmm. But imagine the same situation. So you're walking down the street, you wave to a friend, your friend doesn't wave back, but the thoughts are slightly different here. So you think, oh, I wonder whether they are so occupied in their mind that they haven't noticed me. Maybe there's something going on in their lives. Maybe I should check with them how they are. Yeah. So in terms of the feelings, you become more concerned rather than paranoid or anxious. You become concerned about your friend, you go back home, grab the phone, you text, hey, I saw you in town. You haven't seen me. You look like you were too preoccupied with your thoughts. So I just wanted to check if you're okay. So you can see that the same situation, but the way how we think about it is going to affect how we feel. Yeah. And the same with the behavior. Sometimes what we do is going to affect how we feel. If we wake up in the morning, feel deep in bed, then we're going to feel bad. Mm-hmm. If we wake up in the morning, feel depressed, but we will get up, make the bed, make ourselves a cup of tea, maybe we're not going to feel super happy, but we're going to feel slightly better if we stayed in bed. So this is basically CBT. CBT teaches us how we can view situations differently and how we can do things differently to have different outcome. Mm-hmm. In terms of EMDR, I love EMDR, and I think that this is one of the best therapies in the world, the most effective, the quickest. Mm-hmm. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a very fancy name, very simple technique. Basically, it was invented by Francine Shapiro, she was walking in the park once, preoccupied with some negative thoughts, and on her path, the trees were casting shadows. And she started following these shadows from side to side. And she noticed that what she was thinking about became more neutral. So as she was a psychologist, she ran to her lab, started testing it, and she came up with EMDR therapy. With EMDR therapy, there are some elements that are similar to CBT therapy, identifying cognitions and so on. Mm-hmm. However, I think that the element from EMDR therapy that is the most powerful is actually those eye movements. Yeah. And those eye movements they help us to activate different parts of the brain. So sometimes things that we didn't have an access to, we start having access to. Mm-hmm. The easiest way to describe that is the example with trauma. So, and it's been used predominantly for treating trauma. When people experience something traumatic, sometimes the processing during the traumatic event in the brain gets kind of like blocked. Yeah. And they've got somewhere in part of the brain memory stored as it happened, but this traumatic event. Mm-hmm. But it's not processed. They've got in another part of the brain, they've got information, yes, I'm safe now, it's not happening anymore, and so on. Mm-hmm. But they are not connected. They are in two different parts. And sometimes this traumatic event gets activated, and then they get response like they are almost again at that threatening situation. Mm-hmm. EMDR allows us to move to combine those two information and bring those information, some other information that we have. And then that helps processing, and we can put it at the back of our mind, and it helps with flashbacks, with nightmares, and anything like that. But EMDR has been used as well recently more to treat anxiety, depression, bereavement. It really helps with bereavement. I worked with a few clients helping them with overcome bereavement. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking OCD. Yeah, health anxiety, self-esteem, yes, all those things. EMDR is very, very helpful.
Amazing. Oh, I'm gonna have to book a session or sessions with you. Yeah, I think it's incredible, like you mentioned there about trauma and how trauma is stored within us. And recently, I think this is part of the reason why I've been off work ill as well. You know, I've had some trauma reoccurring from my past. And that's triggered all these other mini traumas from my past that are coming up. And I recently saw a therapist who suggested that I might be experiencing PTSD as well as this trauma experiences. So yeah, I'm really fascinated by looking at that, yeah, and the grief and all of these things. And I know I can think of so many of my clients and listeners as you're discussing this, that method would support them in releasing and feeling safe in their bodies again.
It is amazing because it doesn't only deal with how we feel about the event and the emotions, but as well sometimes that this trauma is stored in our body, and we've got those physical sensations. With EMDR, you can overcome that. And when I work with EMDR and I deal with single trauma cases, so something dramatic happened, but it wasn't for a long time, but perhaps like accident or bereavement or something like that, I get almost 100% recovery rates. So it is very high, and probably I would say this is one of the easiest disorder to treat, but not many people know that you can overcome that, and a lot of people, they stay with their suffering. So for anyone who's listening, if you suffer trauma, definitely start searching for EMDR therapists, because it's something that you can overcome. And EMDR therapy goes very, very quickly. You get results very quickly.
Wow. Yeah. And I think in the world we're living in right now, so many people are experiencing trauma in different ways that could benefit from that for sure. Fascinating. Oh, thank you. And yeah, I mean, you can see why the CBT might take a bit longer when you're having to work with the thought, the behavior, in reprogramming ourselves, I guess.
I think that CBT is as well, it requires more effort from you as a client, because you need to think about your cognitions. You need to do some homework in between sessions. And with EMDR, it's actually quick. All you have to do, you have to listen instructions of your therapist, what to think about. Close your eyes, and then you open your eyes, and you just move your eyes from side to side. And that's it. Your brain does the work. You don't have to work really hard. Of course, you're going to go sometimes through difficult emotions throughout the session, but the release from those emotions is almost immediate.
Wow, that's blown my mind completely.
When I actually went to training, initially I was extremely skeptical about the technique. I thought that it sounds a little bit too magical, too hocus pocus to me. But as part of the training, we therapists, we practice that on each other. And when I experienced that first time, I was like, right, oh my God, this is one of the most amazing techniques. And I use EMDR on myself quite frequently. When I did my training, I went jot down every single past event where I felt that I embarrassed myself, or where I cringe when I think about it, or any kind of self-limiting belief. And I just went one by one and started processing them. And it was just amazing.
Wow. Yeah, I will definitely be in touch after we're finished recording this for sure. Amazing. And yeah, okay, I guess like personal as well. So I guess you can do this online, can you? Do you do?
Yes, it works very well online. There are some YouTube videos that they've got. My favorite one is a green dot that goes across the screen that I can send to my clients, and then they just follow it while on Zoom call with me, and it brings exactly the same results as therapy face to face.
Okay, I can imagine that a lot of people, once they listen to this, will be reaching out to you. And I will put all of Joanna's details in the comments as how to connect with her as well afterwards. So obviously, we mentioned earlier that you have 4 degrees and degrees in psychology and in psychotherapy. So my question is, what is the difference between a psychologist and a psychotherapist? Because I know you hear about both, but what is the difference?
I think that a lot of people, they get confused between psychiatrists, clinical psychologists or psychologists, counseling psychologists, counselor, psychotherapist, CBT therapy. So there is quite a lot of therapists there. So just to briefly explain all those terms, psychiatrists are people who have medical training, and they usually prescribe drugs. Yes, they are going to have a chat with you, but they know some therapeutic techniques, but mostly they will be diagnosing you and prescribing drugs. Mm-hmm. Then we've got clinical psychologists. They go through a training, doctorate training, usually 3-4 years for them, on top of the bachelor degree. Then we've got counseling psychologists. They've got similar training to clinical psychologists. Psychotherapists, they can exit after master's degree. The difference between clinical psychologists and psychotherapists in training, I think that the biggest difference is that psychotherapists, they need to go through their own personal therapy. And when I studied, I had to be for 2 years in my own personal therapy. Mm-hmm. And they do check. You have to have a log of your sessions, which I think is brilliant experience to see how it is on the other side. And as well, choosing this profession, being therapist, any kind of therapist, then it's usually something within us that we're trying to work out for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So if we've got this opportunity actually to have our own therapy, we can dig deep and find out what is it that we were trying to sort out and work on that.
Amazing. Oh, that's so, excuse me, that's so fascinating. And yeah, that makes you kind of want to go and see a psychotherapist more, doesn't it? That like they will have had that experience themselves. It's not just kind of
and counselors as well. I think that a lot of them, they go through their own therapy, but I don't know, it's not a requirement on the training. And I think that with counselors, you don't have to have a formal degree. The term counselor is not protected legally, so anyone can call themselves counselors. However, I have to say that I've got really good experience with counselors when I work in the NHS. They were like the warmest, the nicest people. Mm. So yeah, definitely, I would recommend it. It's the most important, I think, that you will find therapists that you feel comfortable with, that you feel good with. All the studies shows that if you've got a good relationship with your therapist, you're going to benefit more from therapy.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Incredible. Thank you for that explanation. So when we were preparing, because Joanna's also doing an incredible masterclass for my Be Free community, and when we were preparing for that, we were going through a number of different options and ideas that might support my community. I'm going to list some of these just now, but we were looking at things like how to care less about your looks, how to improve self-esteem, reduce feelings of not being good enough, not likable, not smart enough, imposter syndrome, inner critic, how to be more confident in social situations, reducing worries, not embarrassing yourself, how to stop being a people pleaser, become more assertive. And when I put this to my community and said, hey guys, Joanna has all these incredible, support tools she can give us, what would you like? They were like, we need them all. Like, we need support in all these areas. Obviously, the masterclass does not cover them all. We kind of narrowed it down. But, why do you think as women, we struggle with this situations of kind of self-esteem and, this inner critic and negative thinking? Why do you think that is? Or why is it so prevalent?
And I think that it's not only a women problem. I think that men struggle with that as well. And I get quite a lot of male clients, and we work exactly on the same issues. But for us women, I think that of course there's been pressures in magazines in terms of looks, self-esteem. We always want to be the best, and we've got a lot of women, they are perfectionists and people pleasers, because we are used to caring for others, and we've got that in our genes. I think that as well, we are very social animals, so we want to fit in, we want to be liked, and I think that self-esteem is one of the most common things that I come across. Often people, they don't necessarily identify it straight away. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying only in terms of clinical settings, because most of my friends, they could do with work on self-esteem, and I see the potential and I see how amazing they are, and they don't see it. So I think majority of the people, I very rarely meet someone with healthy self-esteem.
Yeah. Thank you. I was just thinking there, one of my clients and my community had asked, and I can't find it in my notes here, but she had asked which she felt was better for improving self-esteem. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So yeah, she'd asked, she struggled with low self-esteem. Which would you say was better, CBT or EMDR as a treatment?
Both.
Both, yeah.
And that's what I do when I work actually with low self-esteem. I use EMDR to process any kind of memories that person has that knock their confidence down. It might be this critical teacher who embarrassed us in front of the class, or parents who are putting those unrealistic expectations on us, or who are ignoring us, because it might be various reasons for our low self-esteem, or being bullied, one of the common ones as well. So for those memories, I usually use EMDR to help people process it, so the situations nowadays, they won't be evoking, or they won't be bringing back those emotions from the past. And then in terms of CBT, I think that it's very useful to help clients to start thinking about themselves differently. When we've got low self-esteem, we filter things and we focus on our mistakes, shortcomings, failures, and this is how we see ourselves. But actually, this is not who we are. We don't notice all those positive things about ourselves, even simple things like us getting up in the morning and going to work. That shows that we are responsible, we are mature, we are motivated, we are reliable. So many good qualities about us, which we normally wouldn't even notice. So with CBT helps us to notice those positive things and turn thinking slightly around, and almost train your brain to start noticing more your strengths and positives. EMDR I use as well for when people worry about future situations, any kind of, I don't know, maybe social engagements when their self-esteem low self-esteem might come up and torment them. So you can use EMDR for future situations to reduce the anxieties associated with that anticipation of the event.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So thank you for our masterclass. Just in case anyone is interested in what we did go for, we've gone for effective ways to start building your self-esteem, quiet your inner critic, and start feeling good enough. So I am very excited to work through it myself. I have seen it within the membership space. And yeah, I love how you've broken it down so easily for us to work through and do that. So thank you. I always am intrigued as to how, therapists, people who work within this kind of environment, what do you use to support your own mental, emotional, and physical health? What kind of things do you enjoy?
So I do a lot of things. I had, for example, yesterday massage. I've got in my diary booked every month, couple of hours of massage or Reiki or facial, something for myself. I do gratitude journal. All the positive studies from positive psychology, they show that actually that is one thing that increases our happiness. If you sit down at the end of the day and think about 5 things that you are grateful for. And I've been doing that for the past 4 years. And I think that I can really attribute my high levels of happiness to actually this one thing.
Yeah.
I do EMDR on myself. Whenever I've got some difficult emotions, I would use EMDR. I use EMDR as well for procrastination and to get a little bit more motivation. I do love warm baths, very relaxing.
Yeah.
I exercise between 3 to 5 times a week, but all those things, it took me some time to build it and to make it a routine. So, it's not something that one day I decided I'm going to do all those things and incorporate them in my daily routines.
Yeah.
I think that it took some time.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I love asking that question because I think it just inspires people to maybe think of things that either they have done before and loved, or something that they've never done before. And yeah, the gratitude journaling is something that we actually do in my community at the end of the month. We do that, but it's something I work with my coaching clients. One of the first things we do is look at that and that kind of reframing of our days, and beginning to look for those positive aspects of things that are coming up within our lives. And I love that you said that, yeah, you don't just wake up one day and suddenly you're drinking green smoothies, busting your kundalini at 5 a.m, and, you know, doing all these things. It's a gradual process, and yeah, it does take time, but then it just becomes your normal, doesn't it?
It is, and it's really effortless. And I think that if you even decide to change one habit or bring one healthy habit a year, then in 5 years' time, you're going to have, you know, 5 amazing healthy habits. So I think that it's doing it slowly, not overwhelming yourself, so you actually can enjoy the process, and you will get there.
Yeah, that feels really achievable. I mean, anybody listening can add one healthy habit a year. Like anybody could do that. So yeah, great. Well done. Thank you. So my podcast is fueled around this sense of freedom and finding that sense of freedom for yourself. What in your life makes you feel free?
So I think that freedom for me is to be able to live my life the way how I want it. Yeah, I think that that's when I feel free, when I can manage my time in terms of my work, and I love being my own boss, and I can take as many holidays as I want, and I can work hours that I want. I can spend my free time the way how I want. There's a lot of things that I love learning, as you've noticed probably from my degrees. I just absolutely love learning. I love learning, reading. So I do enjoy having time to learn new things, new skills, to read. That makes me feel happy and free. And I think that in life, my main goal is to reduce stresses and to increase happiness and fun times. And that's what makes me free.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Amazing. So kind of coming to the end of our discussion here, if anybody is interested in taking part in Joanna's masterclass that she has created for us, feel free to come join us in our Be Free community. We have so many of these incredible habits that some of Joanna's mentioned there. We have Reiki monthly, we have our meditation, we have our journaling, we have all these incredible tools that you can try. And I think this is one of the reasons why I created this community, actually, is because there's so many different tools out there. You know, obviously this month we have your incredible masterclass. Last month we were looking at boundaries. We've had, you know, fitness, yoga, all sorts of different things. We have yoga monthly as well. But, you know, come try, build these healthy habits in a place that feels inclusive and safe. And you mentioned that earlier about us wanting to feel part of something, or, you know, we're quite social beings, and it's nice to have that space. So this month it is 2 years of our Be Free community, and I am offering anyone who joins during this month angel card reading with me, 2 card reading, just to help guide you on that path as well, get a little bit of insight. So if you're interested in that, you will find the details below, or drop me a message, reach out to me. And yeah, you can do that way. So Joanna, if people want to connect with you, what is the best way? Obviously I'll have all your links here, but what's the best way, or what do you have going on just now that people can connect with you on?
So the best way is probably to visit my website, embracingvenus.co.uk, and there are my contact details there, my email, my Facebook group. So I've got Facebook group for people who perhaps have low self-esteem but want some tips on how to improve it. I do have some posts with short, quick tips, what you can do to make yourself feel better. And some inspirational quotes. I've got as well on my website, you can find a couple of online courses that I created. One specific for self-esteem, reinvent yourself by boosting self-esteem. Another one is changing your mindset if it comes to relationships. So how to change your mindset to attract a suitable partner. And those both courses are available on my website. I've got a feeling that my next thing will be to creating some stuff and maybe putting on Udemy. So watch out for that, because there might be some courses there on social anxiety or procrastination, the common things that all of us experience.
Yeah. Wonderful. Oh yeah, so definitely connect with Joanna, and yeah, we can follow you on that path and get signed up to those courses once they're available. Is there anything else you would like to add before we head off today?
Just wanted to say that when people are having difficult times, that it's something that you can overcome. And I'm saying that from my own perspective. I've been diagnosed with depression when I was 16, but when I started working on it, it never returned. And I feel I'm probably one of the happiest person that I can imagine. I've got a job that I love. I do things that I enjoy. I created life that I like, and reduce any kind of negative emotions. And it is possible for everyone. And I think that the communities like yours are absolutely brilliant. And what you said about trying different techniques, this is exactly what therapy is about trying different techniques and see what works for you, and stick with what works for you. So you don't have to suffer, you don't have to experience all those negative emotions. Help is there. Just search for it, reach out, and ask for help.
Thank you. That's so inspiring. And yeah, I think many people will hopefully reach out for help on the back of your experience there and your sharing. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, I could sit and chat to you all day, asking you about so many different things, but I think I should just book a session, and that's probably better. So thank you so much. I cannot wait to work through your masterclass. I can't wait for us to develop our relationship over time as well. And yeah, thank you for agreeing to be here today.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.